This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this StockBox interview.
Joining us today is Mike Whitlow, the MD of ECR Minerals, and Mike Parkner, the technical consultant. Well, welcome to you both. Mike, first of all, Mike Whitlow, could you just give us a bit of an update on how you feel now that the interims of ECR have been released? Key things that I noted really was a lot of cost-saving measures since you and Nick came onto the board.
Absolutely. It just kind of reinforces the ethos and strategy that we employed when joining the company, that we would try and give more a bang for the investor's buck, and of course, cut back on some of the unnecessary spend within the business, and that's been successful and now in black and white for the investment community to review.
Indeed. And the tax losses were mentioned as well. Of course, there was an agreement going ahead with Octo, but that's been put on hold effectively, or not happening. So can you give us an update on how the other avenues that you're exploring with the tax losses?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've had some additional interest. There's a fair number of people in the data room. NDAs have been continued to be signed. We're confident that we'll dispose of these tax losses, for a reasonable sum of cash to the business. If we don't, we have the ability to utilise the tax losses ourselves and improve and increase the economics at Blue Mountain. So whichever way, there's more than one way to skin a cat, is the old saying. There's lots of interest, but we'll proceed with where we think the best opportunity might lie over the sort of coming weeks. But things are moving along nicely.
Okay, we'll wait to see on that. I know there were different options on the table there. And of course, I know you're cashed up as well for the year, and that's where it's important for exploration companies to actually put that money into the ground, and the tax losses are a little bonus there. So Mike Parker, if I can just come to you now. First of all, on Baillieston and the antimony there, a lot of the talk at the minute with antimony prices doing very well. You found that high-grade zone, and you're planning to drill on that project in April, so very soon. So just give us a sense of what you found there and how that's driven the decision to drill and what that objective is.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, obviously, given the high antimony prices, it's a very exciting result we had last year. We had 0.3 meters at 32% antimony. And what we've been doing is understanding the context between the structures and the relationship between gold and antimony that we're seeing at Baillieston. What we've seen is that basically we have a north-south zone, and we're going to drill two areas, one on the north of that and one on the south of that. And our thinking is based around several things. It's the context of the structure. We know that gold and antimony can coexist, and we know that structural controls are the most important factor that leads us to where you find the best antimony. Subsequent to that, we've had some existing geochem soil samples that we've gone up and followed up on with some XRF chips, and we're starting to pick out areas that have been a great guide to us as to where the antimony may be found. So based on our previous drilling, the structural knowledge we have, and compounded by the fact we have a much better indication on surface as to where we might drill, we believe that the 4 holes we have planned are going to be very, very exciting, and will be able to allow us to find more antimony and define the way it's situated in its geological context.
Okay, so it's about finding more antimony, but also understanding geological structures, which I guess will then in turn help you decide whether it's worth exploring even further. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's a step-by-step process, but we believe we're on a great path now. We've compounded all our knowledge into one central sort of database, and we feel we have the best technical chance of getting success there.
Okay, so Mike Whitlow, then what?
I think it's important to know the antimony asset was something of great interest to us. Under our previous agreement, the antimony, as was with all of the additional license areas around Baillieston, were all sort of wrapped up as part of that previous transaction, which we elected to move away from. We're very confident with what we've got. Those historical results came in a fortuitous nature. The previous drilling was for gold. They didn't really do the multi-element testing. We kind of came to the realization that we've stumbled across an extraordinarily high 32% antimony, and it does require follow-up. And with the expertise that Mike brings and the support he brings to the board and, more importantly, the technical team. We believe that we're taking a steady approach here. We don't want to go and bet the ranch on it. We don't want to go and sort of throw the kitchen sink at this project at this point. But we're very confident with what we're seeing. The results that we're getting through the PXRF at surface. Adam was out in the field in the last couple of weeks. Very, very encouraging. The highly anomalous, very, very high, those results. So again, it doesn't give us a guarantee on what's going on at the subsurface, and we are taking this 650 meter drilling campaign as far as we possibly can. It has its limitations, but what we're seeing here is it's encouraging at this point.
Okay, good. Well, we can look forward to seeing the fruits of those drilling results, I guess, as we sort of start to head into the summer here over in the UK. If I can just come on to Blue Mountain then, and this is, of course, where you can get into that small scale, I believe, production, actually quite easy. But Mike, just remind us of how you can sort of get active on the ground and get actually processing some of the gold there.
Yeah, I mean, under the advanced exploration activities, the company is permitted to do some trial mining. I think it's 1,000 tons of material can be produced under that license, and that'll give us a good opportunity to evaluate our efficiency and where we think we can enhance that project versus perhaps even the previous owner at Blue Kebble, or indeed the historical miners of the bygone era. I mean, the Gecko report, which showed 91.7% enhanced recovery from that gold using non-invasive technology is highly encouraging. So that project for us presents a real opportunity to move from a junior explorer into production and revenue generation. And I think that's something that's been rewarded right now in the market. It's been quite challenging over the recent years, but people, really do reward companies that get to production, and that's our primary objective. We've got some nice assets that we're, advancing on, particularly in Victoria with the antimony. But our key focus and primary objective is to get to revenue generation, and we believe we can do that pretty quickly up at Blue Mountain. But Mike will talk us through the X's and O's as how we're going to get there.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Mike Parker, how are you going to get there? How are you going to get into small scale production?
Well, first of all, it's important to note we went up there in February. I was there with Nick and with Adam, had a great site visit, met the landowner, and we've seen some of the work that ECR has done, being the trenching that was done there previously. And it became obvious that we needed to get a really good handle on the actual resource, and we sort of talked about it and decided that it would be really useful to do some drone surveys, which are effectively underway. And those drone surveys allow us to see where the actual alluvial mining has taken place. And then we decided as well that it would be quite useful to do some ground penetrating radar surveys and get to see how deep that actual alluvial bed was, for two reasons. Firstly, if you combine those data sets, the LiDAR gives you a really great map of where the gold is, because that's where the guys have been digging it in the past. And the GPR might even tell you that they didn't actually get to depth and there's still some resources left there. And it'll also tell you where the untouched resources are as well. So using those two non-invasive methods, we'll get a sort of almost a 3D estimate of the potential resource that we have out there. And then we can combine that with our knowledge we have from our sampling, our sampling we did sort of that went through the Gecko report, and we can see from the trenches that we did how that will relate into that data we'll get from the non-invasive test work. And then based on that, we can continue that process by the trial mining. We can do more trenching and put it through the machine we have out there to recover the gold. And that'll give us a really good indication of the resources that are out there. So I think in terms of development of the project, we're on a really great pathway. We'll have a great understanding of the potential of it and understand how we can get to the best gold-bearing areas in a very scientific and focused way.
Okay, and you can get started there almost immediately, can you?
We'll be back in the field before the end of the second quarter.
And we'll kick that off with a target of first gold production under full mining activity towards the end of the year. So I think the focus for us is based on the internal estimates that we've generated, there's $3.6 million a year to be played for. Everything's on track and on time. And yeah, we're fully licensed, fully permitted. We've got the landowner approved and on board with us. And yeah, we're excited to get at it. The team are doing some modifications as we speak to the initial trial plant that we'll run. And then we'll look at upgrading that on the basis of some of the additional information that that we expect to receive over the coming sort of weeks from previous work that's been conducted up there. But yeah, everything's moving along nicely.
Good. Okay, so you've got plenty of activities to keep you busy, drilling at Baillieston and then getting things started on the ground in Blue Mountain. So how are you feeling as a final note for the second half of this year?
Look, I feel like I always feel. I feel optimistic, enthused and energised, quite driven and motivated. But at the same time, we are busy, and there's people accuse us of losing our focus. Just focus on Blue Mountain and do nothing else. It would be crazy. I mean, look at the increase. I was talking about antimony to you when I joined the company. 18 months ago, a year ago, we had an in-depth conversation about the use of antimony, and we've seen what's happened to the price since $20,000 to $55,000. I mean, it's a huge resource. The Western world has realised just how valuable it is, and particularly given, the source of global antimony predominantly exists within Russia, China, and these are parts of the world where relationships just aren't as strong as they once were. So, of course, it makes the resource in the ground in a safe geopolitical situation like Australia far more interesting, and we're acting upon that because that's what we should be doing. It's the right thing for us to do. But at the same time, whenever we talk about projects and where our intentions might lie, there's an assumption that we're trying to deflect away from Blue Mountain, or things aren't working so well, or the project's not on track. The project is on track. The guys are out in the field. We thrilled to have Mike Parker as part of the team working with us on this. And we're enhancing the dynamics of this team as we're enhancing the projects. Really excited for the next sort of 6-12 months for this company.
Good. Well, Mike Whitlow and Mike Parker from ECR Minerals, thank you both very much for your time.
Yes, thanks for your time.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.